Please like and subscribe.
It's been 20 years since the demons came to this world. That day was long remembered by those who survived. There was a huge red moon, a bloody sky, and a lot of unknown, ugly, and scary creatures flying in the sky, but their frightening and terrifying appearance was not the main problem faced by mankind, because the main disaster was that these demons were hostile to humans. They were very cruel, looting, destroying, killing, creating chaos, and bringing destruction into their path. Some people began to awaken superpowers that gave them the opportunity to resist the demons, which ordinary weapons were not. United in an organization for the sake of saving the earth and opposing demons, so for this purpose, special schools were created to train hunters to prepare future hunters from a young age. One such academy was the Disheo Dawn Hunter Academy, but like any business, there was also a division between the strong and the weak, and those with talent got everything, status, attention, and money. Those without talent and ability were mocked. That's why our protagonist was Fang Cheng, a guy who has no talent whatsoever and he was nicknamed the weakest student in the academy, and that was why he was now in this situation, beaten and chained to the fence, unable to get out and do anything, even considering that he was already a graduate of the academy. One of the guys from the company that bullied him hit Fang Cheng on the head with a metal bat surrounded by lightning, adding the next blow, which was obviously also very painful. Even after being beaten for half an hour, after he stopped beating Fang Cheng, the bully holding the bat mockingly told him as if passing judgment that according to the rules of the academy, and since he had not yet awakened his powers, he could not receive a hunter's license, so he replied to the guy holding the bat, telling him not to think he was great, just because he was able to awaken his abilities, but he did not intend to even think and listen to the sound of ice. Fang Cheng again, swinging the bat with a crazy smile on his face, asked that it must be great when you have strength, adding that he will never know and weaklings like him who do not have any strength or ability should be trampled. But to his surprise, he found that there was no punch, which surprised him quite a bit. The next moment, there was a commotion, and the screams of the hooligans could be heard as they were lifted into the air by an unknown force, as if they had been blown away by the wind. Fang Cheng was shocked by the situation and did not understand what had happened. Fang Cheng's Sager appeared, who approached the hooligans lying on the ground and, beaten by her attack, asked if it was fun to mock their classmates without waiting for an answer. The girl who approached was a medium-height dressed in a school sports uniform, had long black hair and big violet eyes that looked at the hooligans with a bored look as if she were really looking at garbage not worthy of her attention in her hand. The wind that was used to attack her before was swirling when Fang Cheng saw the girl. He was a bit shocked as she was Lenyu, the president of their class and the strongest student in the academy, and she was also his childhood friend who they had grown up with together. The hooligans were breathing heavily and struggling to stand on their feet. Turned to the girl, asking her why she was protecting such worthless trash like him, but she wasn't going to talk to them, telling them to get out. She then added in a chilling voice that froze the soul, saying that she would kill them if they didn't leave. The hooligans fried and, beyond measure, rushed away in a hurry, but they did not resign themselves to defeat and promised to take revenge on Fang Cheng, who was lucky this time, leaving the girl and the boy hanging on the fence alone. The girl, with her wind power, cut the chains that Fang Cheng was tied to the fence with. Fang Cheng thanked his childhood friend, sincerely saying that he was grateful to her for saving him. And Lin Longyun says to Fang Cheng, "Graduation exams are in a month. Yet you still haven't awakened any powers. Are you going to repeat it?" Fang Cheng, for whom this was a very painful topic, replied that he would not be able to do so as his condition did not allow him to do so. The reason he didn't tell the girl was that 5 years ago, when his parents were killed in a demon attack, his older sister had taken over the responsibility. That is why he could no longer continue to study and stay for a second year, because he could no longer spend the money that his sister earns by such hard work. After that, he told Lindy with a less than happy look that if he didn't awaken his hunter power by the exam, he would leave the academy. Lin Longyun gets angry after listening to Fang Cheng, and she says, "Don't say this again, you can't give up." Adding that he shouldn't wonder about anything as there was still a month left before the final exam and he still had time to awaken his strength. Fang Cheng looked at the girl with astonishment, not understanding why she believed in such a talentless person like him. After that, when she was about to leave, she said that if he couldn't awaken his hunter power within a month, most likely he would be a loser and a failure for the rest of his life. After which the girl left, leaving Fang Cheng alone with his thoughts. Although the words of Lenyu were not the most pleasant and direct for the guy, he was in agreement with her because he realized that if now does not change anything, then in the future he is unlikely to succeed. He decided to fight to the end, despite any obstacles on the way to achieve his goal, and to become the strongest hunter that his sister would be proud of. Time pass, and we see a blood moon shining in the sky, while the sky was dark, but despite this people did not pay attention to it and continued to live their normal lives, all because it had already been 5 years, namely since the demon attack, and it had become a common occurrence that everyone was already used to at the same time. Fang Cheng was rushing down the street home with all his might, catching glances from passers-by every day. He would run 20 kilometers to get from home to the academy and another 20 kilometers on the way back, and this time on his way home, he was thinking about how he could awaken his abilities as the weakest in the academy. After all, he really wanted to become strong so that he wouldn't be bullied anymore and so that he could look proudly into the eyes of his sister and childhood friend, who was currently the strongest in the academy. As he continued to run, thinking about his own thoughts, he suddenly came upon 2 men who were running towards him with frightened faces, shouting for the others to run away. The next instant, an explosion sounded and debris fell from the building ahead. People in fear and panic began to run away from the explosion, shouting that a demon had appeared in the middle of an empty street with no one on it. Amidst the debris and dust, a frightened girl was running away from a huge shadow standing behind her and calling for help. The creature behind her was a huge demon with 4 red eyes, a toothy grin, shoulder pads with horns sticking out of them, and a huge sword attached to his wired arm. A girl with long pink hair tied into 2 ponytails and holding a plush toy in her hands continued to run away from the demon behind her in a panic. Fang Cheng witnessed this horrifying scene, which horrified him as well because the monster behind the girl was a D-class demon named Blade who had already been wanted in their city for some time. The monster who had easily caught up with the girl smiled evilly and swung his hand, which had a huge cricket attached to it, to strike, but to his surprise and disappointment, he was unable to do so as his blow missed the girl, whom Fang Cheng was holding in his arms and save at the last moment. But because he was moving too fast and sloppy under the force of inertia, he hit the wall, landing on the ground with the girl in his arms. The demon, taking advantage of the situation, rushed towards them, and then, with a ghastly smile on his face, he stabbed Fang Cheng with his huge blade. His eyes widened in horror and pain. In the next second, he cried out loudly in pain as the demon's huge blade pierced through his stomach. This and screamed in horror, but Fang Cheng gathered his last strength and endured the unbearable pain. He shouted to the girl to run away immediately, with tears in her eyes. She replied that she would find someone to help him. The monster lifted Fang Cheng, who was on the verge of death, up into the air. The next second, he threw the guy into the wall of a nearby building with all his might, as if playing with him, hitting the wall and breaking more than one bone in the process. With a hole in his stomach, Fang Cheng cried out, painfully spitting out blood, telling himself that he was a fool to think that an ordinary person could become a hero. The monster standing in front of him had a haughty and a mocking smirk, looking at the guy as if he were laughing at him. Fang Cheng was angry because he had had enough of being ridiculed at the academy, and now the demon had decided to mock him, but despite his rage, he could not do anything again. The monster began to approach him while Fang Cheng tried to gather the last of his strength and somehow resist the demon and not give up, even though he realized that it would not do any good, but he did not have time to do anything as the monster with his huge foot swooped down on him, not giving him a chance to move. Fang Cheng finally realized the real difference in strength, which was the size of an abyss, and began to feel helpless as he could do nothing against it. Realizing that it was his last seconds of life, he sadly began to reflect that it was a pity to die like this without becoming a hunter, without becoming strong. After realizing this, he was filled with rage and the desire to survive and kill that damn demon. The world in front of Fang Cheng's eyes turned red, and only one word resounded in his mind: kill. Suddenly, another voice sounded in his head, saying that he had awakened a strong desire to kill before he died. As a result, he fulfilled the hidden condition and started the process of merging with the demon killer. When Fang Cheng came to his senses, he found himself in an incomprehensible space in which everything around him was in blood red and dark colors, which created an eerie atmosphere. In addition, the guy heard a voice that said that the end of his life had come and asked if he was ready to merge with the demon killer in order to survive and take revenge. He felt someone's touch on his body. Looking up, he saw a big red hand grabbing his arm, but it didn't end there. To his horror, he realized that another hand was already near his face. In the next instant, many red hands with large claws reached out to him. Fang Cheng was terrified and then cried out in panic. Suddenly, a large hand appeared in front of him with bloody flames burning on it, after which an unknown voice addressed him and warned him that he had 10 seconds left to die, after which the voice repeated its previous question: was he willing to merge with the demon slayer, to which Fang Cheng angrily shouted out, asking if he had any other choice. This was his only chance. Having made his decision in the next second, he reached out his hand towards someone's huge clawed hand, interlocking his index fingers. It was a leap into the unknown, as he didn't know what consequences his choice would bring, but he had no other choice. The next moment a voice announced that the fusion had been successful and that he now possessed the power of a demon slayer. The demon standing with its foot on Fang Cheng looked at the guy who should have already died, but a blood-red aura suddenly began to emanate from him. In the next instant, the red aura exploded, forming a huge red dome. Fortunately for the demon, he had good instincts and reactions, sensed something wrong beforehand, and bounced to the side. A silhouette began to emerge from the blood-red dome, and the first to appear was a clawed hand. After that, the demon saw an eye that was black, and only the pupil was red. The eye looked directly at the demon, as if looking into his soul. Following the hand that appeared from the smoke of the aura, a foot appeared, and when it hit the ground, it created a small explosion. The next moment, there was a loud explosion and a roar that shattered the wall of the building with its shock wave, causing debris to fall everywhere. An unknown voice announced that the demon slayer's form had been activated. Fang Cheng looked at his new demon killer form with astonishment and bewilderment as he looked like a demon. In addition, he had a red sign on his chest in the form of wings. He realized that he could faint at any second, which was not surprising since this was the first time he had activated this transformation. Seeing that the creature in front of him was standing still and generally did not look in good condition, the demon decided not to hesitate and took the chance. Then rushed towards Fang Cheng, and the guy's head was only one voice, insistently telling him that he must kill the enemy. The demon swung his hand and blade toward Fang Cheng as he approached him. The demon stared at Fang Cheng's hand in confusion and incomprehension as it lightly caught the blade flying towards him. He angrily and forcefully launched the demon into the air. The demon hit the ground with a thunderous thud, causing a lot of damage. Fang Cheng grabbed the demon by the neck and forcefully pressed it into the ground. He dragged it across the ground at high speed, then, with all his might, slammed it against the wall. The impact was so strong that the wall completely collapsed into small pieces. The demon whose neck was clenched by Fang Cheng's strong hand in his demon slayer form roared in pain and anger, but it wasn't going to die so easily, so in the next instant it swung its bladed hand in an attempt to kill Fang Cheng, but Fang Cheng was able to easily dodge the attack. After that, he quickly stood up and swung at the demon, counterattacking it. His crushing blow reached the target and literally smeared the opponent's face again, launching him into flight. After which, he hit the nearby building. Two guys, in incomprehension and surprise, stood nearby looking at someone's silhouette, surrounded by pillars of dust, unable to believe what they saw. Feeling a look on his face, Fang Cheng turned around, but since he was now in the form of a demon slayer, the guys he looked at knew, having already said goodbye to their lives as they thought they were finished. The voice in Fang Cheng's head was urging him to kill the people who were looking at him, which was not very pleasant as he had to constantly control his thoughts so as not to give in and fall into madness. Then, holding back the pain in his head in anger, he turned to the two guys and told them in a menacing voice to get out if they didn't want to die. While the demon was letting them go, the boys panicked and ran away, not wanting to live too short a life. The demon had already recovered by this time, even though Fang Cheng had slammed him into the wall with great force. Seeing that he had his back turned to, he decided not to miss this chance and launched a surprise attack. Fang Cheng noticed that despite the fact that he had merged with an unknown creature that had enormous power, he had managed to retain his humanity, which was quite unexpected. The demon decided to attack and swung its hand blade at the guy, emitting a vicious roar, but Fang Cheng was prepared for this and instantly turned around. He struck the monster in the chest, and as a result, he was able to pierce through it, thus destroying the demon. Immediately after the demon's death, a voice informed him that he had killed Blade's demon. After that, the voice informed him that he had obtained his hand's sword's ability. From the next moment, two bloody blades appeared on the guy's hands, which were just like the demon he defeated. As it turned out, the demon slayer's strongest ability was not super strength or anything else but the ability to take the abilities of defeated enemies, so he could upgrade and get stronger almost indefinitely.